I died at 28 in what police ruled an accidental fall down the stairs of my own home. Only I knew the truth in those final moments. My stepsister Vanessa had pushed me, right after telling me she'd successfully seduced my husband, and they were leaving together. "You never deserved him anyway," she'd whispered as I fell. "You were always too boring, too ordinary. Men like Alex need excitement, passion. Things you could never provide." My name was Emma Chun, and in my previous life, I'd spent 3 years married to Alex Morrison, believing he was a legitimate businessman who'd inherited his family's import-export company. I'd been the perfect dutiful wife, quiet, supportive, never asking too many questions about his late-night meetings or the dangerous-looking men who sometimes came to our home. I'd never known that Alex Morrison was actually Alessandro Moretti, heir to one of the most powerful organized crime families on the East Coast, until it was too late. My stepsister Vanessa had discovered his identity by accident and spent months using that knowledge to seduce him, promising him excitement and understanding in ways I supposedly couldn't. When I opened my eyes again, I was 25, standing in my childhood bedroom, listening to my stepmother announce that my father's business partner's son wanted to arrange a marriage meeting. "His name is Alex Morrison," my stepmother Diane said, while Vanessa watched with barely concealed interest. "He's very successful, very wealthy. You'd be lucky to catch his attention." In my previous life, I'd been shocked but agreeable to the arranged meeting. I'd found Alex charming, mysterious, protective. I'd fallen quickly and married within 6 months, never questioning the secrets that surrounded him. This time I knew exactly who and what Alex Morrison really was. The meeting was arranged at an upscale restaurant. I dressed conservatively, as I had before, knowing that Alex preferred elegance over flash. When I arrived, he was already there, sitting at a corner table with his back to the wall, positioning that I now understood was tactical, not coincidental. "Emma," he said, standing as I approached. He was exactly as I remembered, tall, dark-haired, devastatingly handsome with eyes that seemed to see everything. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me." "Of course." We sat. Alex studied me with that intense focus I'd forgotten about. The kind that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. Or like you were being assessed for weaknesses. "I understand your father spoke with you about this arrangement," he said carefully. "He did." "And you're comfortable with an arranged marriage?" In my previous life, I'd been nervous but excited, flattered that someone like Alex wanted me. This time, I looked at him directly and said, "That depends on whether you're looking for a wife or a liability." Alex's expression shifted slightly, surprise, intrigue. "Explain." "Marriage is a partnership. If you're looking for someone decorative who won't ask questions, I'm not interested. If you're looking for someone who can handle complexity and maintain discretion, then we can talk." This was not what I'd said before. In my previous timeline, I'd been the innocent girl who didn't ask uncomfortable questions. But I died because of that innocence, and I wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. "You're more perceptive than I expected," Alex said slowly. "I'm observant. Your security detail is very good. The man at the bar pretending to read his phone. The woman by the entrance with sightlines to all exits. Either you're paranoid or you have reason to be careful." Alex's eyes narrowed. "Most people don't notice those things. Most people don't pay attention. I do. And that doesn't concern you? It tells me you're either very important or very dangerous. Possibly both. If you're looking for a wife who'll pretend not to notice, you're wasting both our time." In my previous life, I'd remained oblivious until it was too late. This time, I was making it clear that I saw him, really saw him, and wasn't running away. Alex leaned back, reassessing me completely. "What else do you notice? You wear expensive clothes but nothing flashy. You chose this restaurant for its discreet entrance and private dining areas. You speak with authority but you're constantly scanning for threats. And you're testing me right now to see if I'll panic or probe for information I shouldn't have. And you're not panicking. Should I be? Most women would be. I'm not most women." Something shifted in Alex's expression. Respect, interest, something more complex. "No, you're definitely not." The dinner continued, but the dynamic had changed. Instead of charming and mysterious, Alex was direct and assessing. Instead of sweet and naive, I was observant and strategic. Why agree to this arrangement? He asked over dessert. You clearly don't need someone to take care of you financially. Your father's business is doing well. Because I'm tired of dating men who are intimidated by women who pay attention. You at least seem to appreciate it. I do. But you should understand. My life is complicated. There are aspects I can't explain fully. Things you'd have to accept without complete knowledge. This was his way of telling me about his double life without actually telling me. In my previous timeline, I'd nodded and agreed, thinking he meant business stress or family drama. I can accept complexity as long as there's honesty within the boundaries, I said. I don't need to know everything. But I need to know you won't lie to me about what matters. And what matters to you? Loyalty, protection, partnership. If you're asking me to marry you, I need to know that you'll protect me from your complications, not expose me to them. Alex studied me for a long moment. I can promise that. My wife would be under my protection absolutely. Nothing and no one would touch her. Then we have an understanding. We married 3 months later in a small ceremony, just immediate family and a few of Alex's associates who I now recognized as his crew. Vanessa was there, playing the supportive stepsister, but I saw the calculation in her eyes every time she looked at Alex. In my previous timeline, I'd thought she was jealous of the wedding, the dress, the romance. Now I understood she was already planning how to take it all from me. The wedding night, Alex took me to his home, a fortress disguised as a luxury estate, complete with security systems that would make a government facility envious. I need to tell you something, he said once we were alone in the master bedroom. Something I couldn't say before we were married. You're not just a businessman, I said, surprising him. You inherited more than an import company. You knew. I suspected. The security, the associates, the way people defer to you. That's not normal business success. That's power of a different kind. Alex's expression was unreadable. And you married me anyway. I married you knowing you have secrets. As long as those secrets don't put me in danger I'm not prepared for, I can live with them. I would never put you in danger. Then we understand each other. That night set the tone for our marriage. Unlike my previous timeline where I'd been kept deliberately ignorant, this time Alex and I had an unspoken understanding. He didn't tell me details of his business, but he didn't lie to me either. And I didn't press for information he couldn't safely share. What I did do was prepare. I took self-defense classes, not casually but seriously, with an instructor Alex himself recommended. I learned to shoot at a private range, becoming proficient enough that Alex's security team treated me with new respect. I studied the layout of our home and memorized exits, security protocols, safe rooms. You're taking this very seriously, Alex observed one evening, watching me practice hand-to-hand techniques in our home gym. You said I'd be under your protection. I'm making sure I can protect myself too, in case your protection isn't enough. It will always be enough. I hope so. But I prefer to be prepared. Alex pulled me close, his expression softer than I'd ever seen it. Most women in your position would pretend none of this exists. They'd decorate the house and plan charity events and never acknowledge the reality of my life. Is that what you want? No. I want exactly what I have. A wife who sees me clearly and chooses to stay anyway. I kissed him, feeling the intensity of his devotion in a way I'd never felt in my previous life. Because this time, our marriage was built on honesty within boundaries, on mutual respect, on genuine partnership. This time, Alex loved me not because I was innocent and naive, but because I was strong and loyal despite knowing the truth. 6 months into our marriage, Vanessa started visiting more frequently. I've been thinking about moving to the city, she announced one afternoon, settling onto our couch like she owned it. My apartment is so small, and I heard you have guest rooms here. No, I said simply. Vanessa blinked. What? You can't move in. This is my home with my husband. You're welcome to visit, but not to live here. In my previous timeline, I'd agreed immediately, eager to help family, not seeing the danger. Vanessa had moved into our guest room and spent months positioning herself between me and Alex, creating intimacy through proximity and manufactured crises that made her seem sophisticated while making me seem boring. This time, I saw the trap clearly. "Emma, don't be selfish," my stepmother said, having apparently been part of this plan. "Vanessa needs help getting established." Vanessa is 26 years old with a degree and work experience. She doesn't need to live with her married sister. "I can't believe you're being so cold," Vanessa said, tears forming perfectly on cue. "I thought we were close. We're family. That doesn't mean you live with me." After they left, Vanessa tearful, Diane angry, Alex found me in my office. "Your stepsister wanted to move in?" "She did." I said no. "Good. You don't think I was too harsh?" "I think you protected our home, which is exactly what I need you to do." Alex sat across from me, his expression serious. "Emma, I need to tell you something. Your stepsister has been making inquiries about me. About my business, my background. She's been talking to people she shouldn't be talking to." My blood ran cold. "When did this start?" "About 2 months ago. Around the time she started visiting more often." This was earlier than my previous timeline. Vanessa had discovered Alex's identity faster this time, probably because she was looking more deliberately. "What do you want me to do?" "Be careful. Don't tell her anything about our life, our routine, my schedule. And don't let her get close to me." "She's going to try," I said. "She'll manufacture situations where she needs help, where she needs you specifically." "How do you know?" "Because she did it in my previous life and it worked," I thought. "Because I know her. She's been trying to compete with me since our parents married. She won't stop just because I beat her to marriage." Alex's expression hardened. "She can try all she wants. I'm not interested. She's beautiful, charming when she wants to be, and she'll play the victim card perfectly." "And I'm not interested," Alex repeated firmly. "Emma, look at me." I met his eyes. "I chose you for specific reasons. Your strength, your intelligence, your ability to handle complexity without breaking. Those aren't things that can be replicated with beautiful tears or manufactured crises. I'm not some business associate who can be charmed. I see manipulation coming from miles away. Your stepsister has no idea who she's trying to trap. What will you do if she keeps pushing?" "Handle it. In a way that ensures she never tries again." The cold certainty in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it made me feel safe in a way I'd never felt in my previous life. Over the next 3 months, Vanessa escalated exactly as I remembered. She showed up at our home during Alex's business dinners, dressed provocatively, inserting herself into conversations about topics she clearly didn't understand. She called Alex's private number claiming emergencies, car breakdowns, apartment problems, health scares that always required his personal intervention. She positioned herself as sophisticated and exciting, making subtle comments about how she understood the complexity of his life in ways that implied I didn't. In my previous timeline, these tactics had worked. Alex had found her amusing at first, then necessary when her help during a business crisis proved useful, then intimate, when she'd been the one who understood him during a difficult period I'd been too innocent to navigate. This time, Alex shut down every attempt with brutal efficiency. When Vanessa showed up at business dinners, Alex's security escorted her out with polite, but firm instructions not to return. When she called claiming emergencies, he sent his driver, never going himself. When she tried to demonstrate her sophistication, he responded with such cold disinterest that even Vanessa's manipulative skills couldn't overcome it. "He's being so rude to me," she complained to me after another rejected attempt. "I'm just trying to be helpful." "He doesn't need your help. He has people for that." "But I understand his world." "No, you don't. You've made some inquiries and think you understand. But you don't. And frankly, Vanessa, your attempts to insert yourself into my marriage are obvious and pathetic." Her mask slipped. "You're jealous." "Of what?" "You trying desperately to seduce my husband while he treats you like an annoying mosquito." "I'm not trying to seduce anyone." "Yes, you are. And it's not working. Because Alex isn't interested in girls who play games. He needs a partner, not a pet." "And you think you're a partner? You're just the convenient wife who doesn't ask questions." "No. I'm the wife who asks the right questions and knows when to stay silent. There's a difference. After that conversation, Vanessa changed tactics. Instead of trying to charm Alex, she started trying to undermine me. Subtle comments about my capabilities, my social skills, my ability to handle complex situations. Stories about my past, embellished or invented, designed to make me look weak or unstable. In my previous timeline, this had worked because Alex didn't know me well enough to recognize the lies. This time, he shut it down immediately. Your stepsister told me an interesting story, he said one evening. About a panic attack you allegedly had at a charity event. I've never had a panic attack at a charity event. I know. I checked with 3 people who were there. She made it up. She's trying to make me look unstable. She's trying to make me doubt you. It's not working. Alex pulled me close. Emma, I know who you are. I've seen you handle pressure, make difficult decisions, maintain composure in situations that would break most people. Your stepsister's lies can't compete with my direct experience. She's going to escalate. I know. I'm prepared. 3 weeks later, the escalation came. I came home early from a meeting to find Vanessa in our bedroom, wearing one of my negligés, posing on our bed. Oh, she said, not bothering to look surprised. I thought you'd be gone longer. Clearly. Get out. I was just borrowing. You were trying to position yourself so Alex would find you here. Get out before I call security. Vanessa stood slowly, making no effort to cover herself. You can't give him what he needs, Emma. You're too cold, too controlled. Men like Alex need passion. Men like Alex need partners who aren't manipulative liars. Get out. I wonder what he'd think if he knew how you really got him. The way you manipulated your father into arranging. The way I accepted an arranged meeting and built a genuine relationship? Yes, I'm sure that's very scandalous. I pulled out my phone. You have 60 seconds to leave before I call Alex's head of security. And trust me, Marco won't be gentle about escorting you out. Vanessa grabbed her clothes and left, but her eyes promised this wasn't over. That evening, Alex came home to find me in the kitchen, cooking dinner with focused intensity. Marco told me about this afternoon. She was in our bedroom. I know. It's handled. What does handled mean? Alex pulled me away from the stove and into his arms. It means your stepsister has been explicitly warned that any further attempts to enter our home uninvited will be treated as criminal trespass. It means I've had my team investigate her activities, and we've found some interesting financial discrepancies that could be reported to appropriate authorities. It means she now understands that continuing to harass you will have consequences she won't enjoy. You threatened her. I protected you. There's a difference. In my previous life, this moment never came because Vanessa's seduction had succeeded before security could intervene. This time, Alex's absolute devotion to me meant she'd never get close enough to succeed. But Vanessa wasn't done yet. 2 weeks later, I received a call from the police. Vanessa had filed a report claiming Alex had threatened her physically, that she feared for her safety, that his criminal connections made her afraid to speak up earlier. This was her nuclear option, trying to use Alex's real identity against him while painting herself as a victim. At the police station, Alex's lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Chun who I suspected knew exactly what Alex really was, handled the interview with devastating efficiency. Ms. Morrison, she said calmly, can you explain why you've visited my client's home repeatedly despite being asked to leave? Why you've called his private number over 30 times in 3 months? Why you've been seen following him to business meetings? Vanessa flushed. I was concerned about my sister. Your sister who you've made multiple disparaging comments about to mutual acquaintances? The sister you've attempted to undermine professionally and personally? Patricia slid a folder across the table. We have documentation of everything, Ms. Morrison. Text messages, emails, witness statements. This looks less like concern and more like harassment. The detective handling the case reviewed the evidence and closed his notebook. Ms. Morrison, these allegations appear to be unfounded. However, you may want to be aware that Mr. Morrison could file harassment charges based on this documentation. After we left the station, Alex put me in his car, and we drove in silence for several minutes. "I need to tell you something," he finally said. "Something I've been planning for a while now." My heart rate increased. "What?" "I'm leaving the business. My family's business. All of it." I stared at him. "What?" "I've been planning this for over a year. Long before I met you, actually. I was tired of the life, tired of the violence, tired of looking over my shoulder. But I couldn't just walk away. That's not how it works. I had to plan carefully, set up legitimate businesses to replace the income, pay off debts and obligations, position someone else to take over my territories." "And have you done all that?" "Almost. There's about 6 more months of transition. After that, I'm out completely. Alessandro Moretti will cease to exist, and I'll be just Alex Morrison, legitimate businessman." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because your stepsister's actions have accelerated my timeline. She's been making inquiries that could draw attention I can't afford during the transition. I need to protect you, which means I need to fully exit sooner than planned." "What does that mean?" "It means we're going to disappear for a while. New city, new identities, new life. I have properties overseas where we can stay until the heat dies down and the transition is complete. Then we come back as a completely legitimate couple with no ties to my previous life." "You're asking me to run away. I'm asking you to trust me, to let me protect you the way I promised I would." In my previous life, this conversation never happened. Alex never tried to leave his world. He stayed. And eventually Vanessa's manipulation combined with the pressures of his criminal life had destroyed our marriage and led to my death. This time, Alex was offering me a way out, for both of us. How long would we be gone? 6 months, maybe a year, until everything is finalized. And Vanessa? Will be handled. I have people who will make sure she understands that continuing to cause problems for us would be very unwise. You're not going to hurt her. I'm going to scare her. There's a difference. She'll be made to understand that her actions have consequences, that she's been playing a game she doesn't understand the rules to, and that she's very lucky I care more about your opinion than about punishing people who cross me." I thought about my previous life, dying at the bottom of the stairs alone, betrayed by both my sister and my husband. Then I thought about this life, Alex's absolute devotion, his willingness to leave his entire world for me, his protection that never wavered. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow night. Can you be ready?" "Yes." That night, I packed a single bag with essentials. Alex handled everything else, documents, money arrangements. His organization when it came to disappearing was frightening in its efficiency. Before we left, I called Vanessa and asked her to meet me at a neutral location, a coffee shop near her apartment. She came, probably expecting another chance to manipulate or undermine me. "You asked me to meet you," she said, sitting down with fake concern on her face. "Is everything okay? I heard about the police station." "Everything is fine. I wanted to tell you something." "What?" "You won. Congratulations." Vanessa blinked. "What?" "You've successfully driven a wedge between me and Alex. Your constant interference, your attempts to seduce him, your police report, it's all worked. We're done." For a moment, triumph flashed in her eyes before she could hide it. "Emma, I never meant." "Yes, you did. And you succeeded. I'm leaving. Alex can be all yours." "You're leaving him?" "I'm leaving everything. The marriage, the city, all of it. You can have the lifestyle you wanted so badly." Vanessa's expression shifted to something like victory. "I'm sorry it came to this." "No, you're not. You're thrilled. But Vanessa? Enjoy it while you can. Because the man you think you're winning isn't who you believe he is." "What does that mean?" "It means you've spent months trying to seduce someone you don't understand. And when you figure out the truth, you're going to wish you'd left well enough alone." I stood up and left before she could respond. That night, Alex and I left the country on a private plane registered to a shell company that would disappear within days. We landed in a small coastal city in Europe, where Alex had a house under a completely different name. "What happens now?" I asked as we settled into our temporary home. "Now I finished dismantling my old life and building a legitimate one. Now I protect you while everything settles. And now your stepsister discovers what happens when you get exactly what you thought you wanted. What do you mean? Vanessa will try to contact me. When she does, she'll be redirected to my associates, the ones who are taking over my territories. They'll think she's a potential liability or a useful asset. Either way, she'll learn very quickly that the world she was trying to enter is nothing like she imagined. You're using her obsession against her. I'm letting her natural consequences play out. She wanted into my world. She'll get a glimpse of it. Just enough to terrify her and make her grateful she's not actually part of it. Over the next 6 months, reports filtered back to us through Alex's still loyal associates. Vanessa had tried to contact Alex repeatedly, becoming increasingly desperate when he didn't respond. She'd started asking questions of the wrong people who'd mistaken her interest for something more dangerous. She'd been interrogated by Alex's former associates who thought she might be law enforcement or a rival's plant. By the time they realized she was just a delusional girl who thought seducing a powerful man would be exciting, she'd been thoroughly frightened and was back living with our parents, too afraid to even return to the city. She's been asking our parents about you. My father told me during one of our carefully scheduled phone calls. She claims you stole your husband from her, that he was interested in her, but you manipulated the situation. And what do you think? I think Vanessa has always been jealous of you. And I think she tried to destroy your marriage and failed. Diane is furious with me for not supporting Vanessa's version, but I know my daughter. You wouldn't sabotage your own sister. Thank you for believing that. Are you happy, Emma? Wherever you are? I'm very happy. Then that's all that matters. After 6 months abroad, the transition was complete. Alex's former territories were under new management. His financial obligations were cleared. His legitimate businesses were thriving. Alessandro Moretti had ceased to exist in any meaningful way. We returned as Alex and Emma Morrison, wealthy but conventional couple who'd spent 6 months traveling after a family health scare. No one questioned it. No one looked too closely. And Vanessa, who'd briefly tried to contact us when we returned, backed off completely after one of Alex's former associates paid her a courtesy visit to remind her that some sleeping dogs should remain undisturbed. 2 years after our return, I was in my office working when Alex came in with an odd expression. I need to tell you something. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. But I've been keeping something from you. Something I should have told you from the beginning. My heart started racing. What? I know. Know what? About your previous life. About dying and coming back. The world tilted. That's not possible. You're not the only one who was given a second chance, Emma. I died too in our previous timeline. The business destroyed me eventually. I was killed by a rival's hit 3 years into our marriage. I came back the same way you did. I sat down hard. You knew this whole time? I suspected from our first meeting. The way you responded to me, the things you noticed, the fact that you weren't afraid even though you should have been. You were different than before. Why didn't you say anything? Because I needed to know if you'd choose me again. Knowing what you knew. In our previous timeline, I failed you. I let your stepsister manipulate our marriage. I let the business consume me. I let you die without protecting you. So you what? Tested me. I changed. I became the man you needed instead of the man I was. I planned my exit from the business before I even met you this time. I prepared to build a legitimate life. I did everything differently so that this time, I could actually protect you the way I'd promised. And Vanessa? Was never a real threat this time because I knew exactly what she was going to try. I'd lived through her manipulation before. I knew her tactics, her timing, her endgame. I just needed to see if you'd recognize the danger too. I sat with this information, processing the implications. Are you angry? Alex asked quietly. I should be. You kept this from me for 3 years. I kept it because I needed to know if we could build something real this time. Something based on genuine choice instead of circumstance. And did we? Yes. This life, this marriage, it's everything our previous one should have been. You're the partner I always needed but never appreciated. I'm the protector I always promised to be but failed at. Together, we're stronger than either of us was before. What about Vanessa? Does she remember? No. We're the only ones. Maybe because our deaths were so intertwined. Maybe because we needed the second chance more. I don't know. But she's living her first life while we're living our second, and that's why she can't understand why her tactics don't work anymore. I thought about everything. My previous death, the manipulation, the loneliness of dying betrayed. Then I thought about this life, the partnership, the protection, the genuine love. I'm glad you left the business, I said finally. Me too. It destroyed us before. I won't let it touch us this time. And if someone from your previous life comes looking? They won't find anything. Alessandro Moretti is dead and buried in legal paperwork. All that exists is Alex Morrison, loyal husband, legitimate businessman, and very protective of his wife. 5 years after our first meeting, we'd built a life that bore no resemblance to our previous one. Alex's companies were successful and entirely legal. I'd started a nonprofit focused on domestic violence prevention, using my previous life's lessons to help women recognize manipulation and escape dangerous situations. Vanessa had moved to another state, married a very ordinary man, and stopped attempting contact with either of us. She'd finally learned that some games were too dangerous to play. And Alex and I, we'd learned that love wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic romance. It was about protection, partnership, and choosing each other every day even when the choice was difficult. Do you ever regret it? I asked one evening as we sat on our balcony watching the sunset. Your previous life, the power, the respect that came with being Alessandro Moretti? Never. That life killed me. This life, with you legitimate, safe, this is what I was looking for all along. Even though it's ordinary? It's not ordinary. It's genuine. And genuine is worth more than powerful any day. I leaned against him, feeling the security of his arms around me, knowing that this time our story would end differently. Vanessa had tried to seduce my husband, not knowing he was a gangster who only loved me. But more than that, she hadn't known that he was a gangster trying to become legitimate, that he'd already chosen me above his entire criminal world, that his love for me was so absolute that he'd burned down his previous life to build a new one where I'd be safe. She'd thought she was competing for a powerful man. She'd had no idea she was competing with someone who'd already lost me once, and rebuilt his entire existence to make sure it never happened again. That was the truth. She'd collapsed when she finally understood. The man she'd tried to seduce had already chosen me in 2 lifetimes. And no amount of manipulation could compete with that kind of devotion. My stepsister had tried to seduce my husband, but she'd never had a chance. Because Alex Morrison, or Alessandro Moretti, or whoever he'd been in any life, loved me with the kind of fierce, absolute devotion that came from having lost me once and being given a second chance to keep me. And nothing Vanessa could ever offer would compete with that.